let's go to the last resolution of the night. Be it resolved that the late mover advantage places Hong Kong ahead of Singapore. Ladies and gentlemen, this is indeed a Hong Kong versus Singapore debate. I'm excited to see what the next 12 minutes are going to bring. Please submit your votes. Alisher, were you ever in Hong Kong? I know Lewis and Marcus has spent a little time. Marcus, you've spent a little time.
First, Alvin, I was out there for about half a year. That's exactly where we met.
Yeah, that's right. Much makes you a local at this point.
I spent 15 years in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
There you go. Remain man.
And you betrayed us going to Singapore, have you, Marcus? Whoa, 50-50.
Wow.
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 50-50. Okay, so this is going to be the one, guys. This is going to be the one. This is going to be the decider right here. All right, on the for side is Lewis and Mike. You have the floor. 4 minutes, please.
All right, let me share my screen. Am I the right color? Green, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you're the right color.
All right, no question. I think Hong Kong will definitely leapfrog Singapore. And let's look at it from a different perspective. First of all, let's look at it from the industry, right? Where is crypto going after this whole FTX mess? It's very clear that the industry is moving towards two extremes, either to the left, where it's super centralized, super governance, super regulation, or to the other extreme, which is super transparency, super decentralized. The stuff in the middle, kind of centralized but not regulated, et cetera, that's going to disappear over time. And with this kind of strong trend coming up, Hong Kong actually has positioned themselves to really benefit as the industry moves to the left. In end of October, the Hong Kong government actually came out and publicly announced several initiatives and major strategic moves towards cryptocurrency. And the biggest play is around regulation. And therefore, I think actually Hong Kong will become the biggest beneficiary here. First of all, Hong Kong did not ignore crypto even back a few years ago. They actually started, and probably one of the first regulators in the world to start regulating crypto activities. We were one of the first to be regulated as an asset manager for trading crypto. And so Hong Kong actually has built up a very strong base and framework for new regulations to be built upon. And right now there are a handful of exchanges, brokerages, asset managers that are already licensed in trading and dealing with crypto. And I think the second biggest thing is there's actually very little baggage that Hong Kong has to take care of related to all the things that has happened this year. In fact, FTX was originated from Hong Kong, and in some ways, the regulator kicked them out because they weren't operating under a license, and they had to move to Bahamas. And now we know why. We know what happened. Three Arrows blew up, right? And fortunately, that was not a Hong Kong licensed asset manager. All the licensed asset managers in Hong Kong are doing very fine. And so the starting point, even though maybe a little bit lower for Hong Kong, the trajectory for Hong Kong is much higher, just because they don't need to take care of, all these publicity mess that Singapore is now dealing with. Singapore started with being very aggressive into crypto. They were one of the first movers, but now they have to deal with all the mess with their involvement with FTX investments there. And now the government is saying they're limiting retail from participating in crypto. They're restricting people or businesses offering crypto derivatives under a license. And so in some ways, Singapore is actually going flat or even slightly on a downtrend in terms of their support for crypto development. And so eventually these two curves are going to converge and meet, and Hong Kong is going to surpass Singapore. One big point about also Hong Kong is it starts off with a very strong base in the traditional finance. It's such a much larger financial ecosystem in terms of talents, capital, regulation. And if you compare that against Singapore, there's really no competition. And so if the government's coming up and saying, come here, do crypto, build crypto, and link it up to the existing financial ecosystem, traditional finance, there's going to be a lot of excitement coming on, and it's going to be huge in terms of the growth and potential that we will see in Hong Kong. And one last point is, it's more than just financial, right? Hong Kong is also supporting Web3 across many industries, retail, supply chain, and Hong Kong now is becoming a very perfect market test ground for new Web3 developments. Thank you.
Oh, coming out of the gate, guns blazing. Sandy, can we get that application for next chief executive for Michael, please? I think we have our candidate. Heading over to the again side, pro Singapore, I guess it would be. Who's leading this one? Is it Markus? Is it yourself?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, sir, you have 4 minutes on your start.
Yeah, I don't know if I can have like full 4 minutes, but I was a little surprised that Michael left a few Hong Kong cases out of his presentation there. And I think it's quite interesting what he left out because when you think about what Hong Kong really has represented, it's not really the exchanges that really matter, but it's more the lenders. And I think this is a big difference between Hong Kong and Singapore, because Hong Kong seems to be more attuned towards the lending businesses. And I guess this has to do with, the proximity and the money flow from China maybe. But I think Singapore is more on the custody side. And of course, with everything that we have learned the last few months, it's really like the custody side, institutionalization that really matters. And I think Singapore has also done like an excellent job to really tie itself into the new ecosystem really of the whole Web3. Of course, Michael could have said about Animoca brands that that's very important in Hong Kong. But I think what's on a regional picture, you have, of course, a lot of the developers sitting in Vietnam, building apps, building programs, building projects really from India to the Philippines. And it's really being financed by capital coming from Singapore. So Singapore has really tied itself in really for the mass adoption. And I think that is really like one of the key selling points. And I think you can also make an argument, yes, the Singapore government entity funds, they have lost some money investing in crypto, but I think they have also made a lot of money. And I think it shows to them really that they're really kind of embracing this in a safe way. And 2 hours ago, when I was thinking about, like a great slide for this, I came up with this little search here.
Good.
So just look at this. And I think we can just like stare at this slide for, maybe for another minute. So when you just search for crypto jobs in Hong Kong, they had 198 jobs. That's really not bad, right? But then somewhere in Singapore, they have like a few more. And I think that really shows you how the industry has really moved and has evolved. And what Michael was also saying, of course, that a lot of the money asset managers is in Hong Kong. That is true, but it's changing. I mean, here you see like the number of companies that have an asset management license or a hedge fund license in Hong Kong that are moving to Singapore. This is like clearly ramping up. And of course, the assets under management in Singapore are also like really like exploding and making up really for the last kind of like 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So I think the market has actually, changed a lot and it's being like, it's adopting to the new regulatory environment. But at the same time, really crypto has evolved. It's not really like the retail punter market that really matters. I think it's really like the debate between lending, custody, and being like safeguarding of assets and really tying into the new Web3 ecosystem that really spans from, in Asia at least, from India all the way to the Philippines. And that's like how Singapore has really managed to tie itself in and to be very open really with welcoming teams, having less visa restrictions, so really trying to get a lot more people here. And of course, Michael probably didn't know this because he hasn't left Hong Kong for many years now. But Singapore has really like made an effort really to bring the right people here. And I think that's why, we're trying to really support Singapore here. Okay.
Ooh, what? That's a very scathing retort, but well healed. Let's go straight to the rebuttals. Michael, you have the floor. 2 minutes.
Yes, Markus is correct. I mean, there's a lot of kind of custodian type activities in Singapore if you look at the crypto ecosystem. But ultimately, if we actually look at the business benefits and the ROI in terms of crypto, it really is the movement of crypto that truly benefits and grows the industry, right? If everyone just custody and put their money either in their own wallets and it just stays there, as, put their Bitcoin under the bed, nothing really happens, right? And so what Hong Kong is enabling here is the movement of crypto, the exchange, the trading, the brokerages, the investment, right? You really want things to really move to generate acceleration, to generate liquidity, and therefore more money to be made for all the players here. And I think that's the important part. And actually, why Singapore has been focusing on custody, because that's the safest thing. That's the easier thing to deal with and the least likely that it will blow up. But at the same time, they're giving up on the potential upside. And right now, they're very risk averse in terms of taking that leap to enable, things like derivatives and other types of trading activities, just because they have to deal with all the baggage that I was just mentioning earlier. And in terms of jobs, definitely at this point in time, Hong Kong has less in terms of a starting point. But I think the trajectory with the push of the government, with the push of the entire financial industry, I think that trajectory is just going on the positive side. And one final slide here, and this is to complete my pitch to be a chief executive, is let me share this very quickly. Hey, it's all about China. Come on. At the end, China is behind us and China is still big in blockchain. So, all right, that's all.
Thank you, Michael. Final statements and rebuttal for the evening. Marcus, the floor is yours.
Alisher, I think for this one very important number for all of you, the number 3. The number 3, who else is a regulator in Hong Kong? Is it the SFC, the HKMA, China? Who is it? In Singapore, one, MAS, one party that you deal with. Singapore FinTech Festival, 62,000 attendance this year. Hong Kong, 20,000. 3 times the number. Says everything. Hong Kong banks that accept crypto, as far as I'm concerned, 0. Singapore, at least 3. Pretty important. And now the last thing, what the hell is your crypto license called? So MaiCapital, we've got the asset management license. There's, I think, 2 license exchanges. It's on the hash key. There's those licenses in exchange. Singapore, 1 damn license. The PSA of 2019, everybody knows this. 30-ish, 20-ish players that have received this license, exchanges, whatever else. So much more than the measly 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever that you have in Hong Kong. If you can name one specific overarching license that you guys have, I will surrender to this one. Hong Kong makes a strong point, but I had to make this call in 2019. I moved to Hong Kong. I stayed there for a bit of time and moved to Singapore and set up shop there for crypto finance, which were then sold to Deutsche Börse Group. And they said that was the smartest move that we made in Asia to set up in Singapore. So the number 3 is very important. And just remember that I think at the end of this, we should have the overall victory because that extra 1 point might fall down to that number. I think this is about it from my side. I think 3 times better than all y'all. So wait for the answers.
That was awesome. Well, Michael, can you post up the deciding vote, please, while I debrief with the team here? Guys, that was really good, man. While we wait for them to vote in on this, Michael, I think you got some tough competition, but I'm definitely going to put my backing behind you for CE next election.
Just to remind people, honest Singapore. Honest Singapore.
Excellent. All right, let's see the results. Whoa! 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 We got a lot of work to do. We have 71%,
I know.
71% in favor of Singapore, only 29% in favor of Hong Kong. Future is looking bleak if this is the opinion of allocators and partners abroad, Michael. We got a lot of
work to do.
ahead of us.
I think this boils down to the goal difference, and I think we just scored like 3-0 against you guys. So I think, I think it's going to be that right out.
No, I mean, look.
Well, if anybody wants to come to Singapore, as you can see, there are like tons and tons and tons and tons of jobs here.
That's okay. Mike, you're hiring. You're hiring.
Yeah. We have 1 job versus Marcus's 10.
Aren't they like 500 jobs for FTX compliant?
Yeah, look, so it's 2-2 for you guys. I think it would be awesome to get you guys in for a rematch. We need a deciding vote on this. You know, it's despite how heavy hitting that last one, I actually, quite frankly, I thought it was a tremendously important debate to have as a self-reflection and for Hong Kong, and also as something for Singapore to think about in terms of the direction it's taking. There's what we read in the newspaper, but word on the street is we're taking a lot of hits in Singapore after what happened with 3 Arrows and what happened with FTX. So they're going to be taking a more cautious approach. SFC, on the other hand, yeah, I think SFC does have a little bit of work to do ahead of us. And I think one of the key points you brought up is talent. You know, we're always looking for key talent. We're always looking for important talent in 3.0 in Hong Kong. And it's something we got to fight a little bit harder for, with Singapore having the head start. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, everyone. This was a fantastic event. We'll be posting clips of this up on YouTube for everyone. Appreciate your time. Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you on the next one.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Albert.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.